Hey, this is Kristen from Sew Mama Sew. We get a lot of emails from people who are planning on sewing for their own wedding and their wedding reception, and they want to make table runners and napkins, and so they write to us and want to know the best way to make 200 napkins in the fastest way possible. I think the best way to do that is to use a rolled hem on a serger. A serger is a really fast machine, makes quick work of it. You don't have to iron your hem and sew it like that. So here's an example of some rolled hems. Switch that over there. So you can see how the edge is sewn over rather than folded and straight stitched. Here's another example of a rolled hem. On this side, you're looking at the wrong side of the fabric here. Here's the right side. And you can see how these threads come around from the front and go to the back. And the thread that is coming over is called the upper looper thread. And then underneath there's a lower looper thread as well as a needle thread that's caught on there. So you need a serger with 3 threads. Or you can use a serger that has 4 thread capacity or 5, but all you need is 3 here. Now, if I was going to do 200 napkins, a lot of people would automatically just wash and dry and iron their fabric first. But I think for napkins, because you're not sewing them to anything else, and because you're going to want them to be freshly pressed and crisp before the wedding reception, I think the best thing to do is actually iron them after you sew them. Wash and iron them after you sew them. You're going to be using a water-soluble pencil before you sew, and you're also going to be using a little bit of fabric glue, and you just want to make sure that that holds up. And so I would throw them into the washer after I was done with everything, and then I give them a good iron before the wedding. So here's an example of where I've stopped halfway, just so you can see how the rolled edge is actually folded under. So here it is, it's not sewn yet, and here it is, it's sewn, so it's folded under. And I've marked it here at 1/4 of an inch all the way around with a water-soluble pencil. You can use a water-soluble marker, anything that will just wash off with a little bit of water. Now over here on my machine, I'm going to show you a few of these settings. First of all, your machine should have an R setting here for rolled hem. And also, you want to make sure that you drop your blade. This is my cutting blade on the serger. We're not going to use the cutter for this project because it's just going to fold the fabric under rather than cut it off. Up here, stitch length, you should also have an R setting for rolled hem. Well, of course, every machine is going to be different, but just check and see what yours says for a rolled hem. Now, back here on the front of my machine, I'm using the upper looper thread, the lower looper thread, and one of the needles. In this case, I'm using the right needle. Your upper looper thread should have a tension that's relatively low. So in this case, I have mine set to just over 2, whereas my lower looper thread the tension is really high. It's set to a 7. And then you're just going to want to go ahead and sew your fabric. So you're going to put that fabric underneath. Switch that there. Here's your marking line that you did with the water-soluble pencil. And that just needs to go right under the very edge of this presser foot. And that's it. You're going to sew each edge up. And then when you get to the bottom of each edge, trim this tail off. Cut it right off as soon as you're done sewing it, because you don't want to sew over it. If you were using your serger with the blade up, then that blade would cut it off. But because you're not using the blade, you need to trim this off so that the next edge you go around, it's nice and tidy. Then when you're all done sewing those up, take these tails off and use a little bit of glue, fabric glue. You can use, probably all you need is like a fray stop fabric glue. This is a sewing with a tube, but that's probably overkill. All you need is a little bit of fray check there, right there. And then you're all done.